Hey everyone, Gretchen Wagner here, and this is my fourth and last tip in the series about how to read a 400-page book in under 2 hours. So in the first 3 tips, we looked at things to do before you ever start reading. Now I'm going to give you permission to read, maybe that first chapter. Maybe you'll read it word for word if you have more than 2 hours, but if you don't have more than 2 hours, if you're really like, I gotta get this as quickly as possible, then I give you permission to skim, and I give you permission to skim in this particularly interesting way that they often teach in accelerated reading programs, where you take your finger and move it across the page and force your eye to move quickly along it. You're not going to read every word, but you're going to pick up more than you know you will if you're able to keep your finger moving. The other thing that I sometimes like to do is actually just move my finger down the middle of the page and actually just see what information do I pick up. And if I notice any more of those clue words I talked about in the last video, I might slow down and actually read that section just for a little bit. Or I might notice, oh, here's some data that is backing up this main idea, and so I might mark it as data. And I won't worry if I didn't get the data, but I will have it marked so I know I can go back and get it if I need to. So the other thing I want you to do, once you have done that, once you have quickly skimmed an entire chapter, and this is a really hard thing to do. In fact, when I was reading this morning, it was very hard for me to make myself do the following. And that is take a moment to summarize what your takeaways are from major sections. So I did that here using a Post-it note. This section, which is called Misshaping the Way They Dream. And it's talking about how parents sometimes get in the way of helping students be able to create, dream anything they want for their lives. And so what I did was I put a summary of the main idea of the section on a Post-it note and popped it right here so that I'll remember in a classroom discussion, or more likely I'll remember when I'm talking about it in a podcast. So another thing that I did, you'll notice on this page, it's longer. And this is the end of a section that was called, a whole chapter called Succumbing to the College Admissions Arms Race. And so I decided to actually write my own summary of the most important points in this whole chapter and get it down on these Post-it notes here so that when I go back, I don't have to read the chapter, and when I go back to hone my notes, so maybe to create that one-pager summary of the entire book, I have some notes right here in order to do that. Now, it is very hard to force ourselves to take a moment to summarize in our own words. I resisted it, and truth be told, if I didn't know that I was making this video today, I probably wouldn't have done it today. So it's a helpful thing to do, though, especially if you know you're going to have to write about the book you're reading or talk about it in a class discussion, to take that time. And if you do take it in the moment while you're reading, you will be so grateful that you did it. A college class that I took back in the day, the only homework assignment that they assigned was to summarize the chapter in 1 to 3 sentences. And they graded those 1 to 3 sentences. And I'll tell you, it was one of the hardest but the most beneficial tasks I've ever done in any of my classes, in any of my education, was to force myself to regularly create the habit of summarizing in a condensed form the main ideas of the chapters I was reading. Phew. So, if you follow all of these ideas, you will really be able to get the gist of a book like this in under 2 hours. Now, frankly, there are many chapters that as I got further and further in the book, I was getting her point more, and so I moved faster and faster through it. And I actually will need to go back and spend more time with this book in order to discuss it in the podcast that I'm planning on talking about it in. But for now, 2 hours is a really great start. And then if I have 2 hours later to dive more deeply into the content, to understand the data and the supporting details even better, well, then that's only 4 hours for a 400-page book, and that's still not bad. So I would love you to try out these tools and let me know what you think. You can email me at gretchen@gretchenwagner.com or comment on any of these videos, and I'll be back at you with a whole new subject next week. Bye, everyone.